Hello, good morning.
Morning, Hamish. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Adam?
Yeah, not bad. It's my first one of these, but I think it's safe to say we're not short of things to talk about, so we should be all right.
Yeah, baptism of fire with this one. There's actually loads of stuff to get through. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Hamish Morrison, I'm a political reporter with The National. This is Adam Robertson, who's one of our digital reporters. And we're just kind of going to give you a rundown of today's top stories and what's been going on. The big news is obviously the two by-election humiliations for Boris Johnson delivered in the early hours of this morning, which is a nice breakfast for him to eat today. Tiverton and Honiton lost. I think it was one of the biggest Tory majorities in the whole of the UK. It was about 24,000 votes they had, and the Lib Dems just demolished that with their candidate Richard Ford, who beat Helen Herford, who's replacing Neil Parish, who famously was nobody for his entire political career, and then just ruined it all by watching porn twice in the House of Commons. Twice that he got caught, I suppose. It's just upended his political career and had to resign in disgrace. The Tories put forward a candidate who performed so badly that she hid herself in a dance studio of the Leisure Centre where the votes were being counted. Didn't quite go full fridge. Was that an email notification?
It was. I apologise.
No, that's okay. So yeah, she leaked. She locked herself in the dance studio to sort of, I don't know, steal herself.
To sort of hide away from the questions, I think, which were inevitably coming. It's quite the place to go and hide yourself.
Would you do it?
I don't know. I don't think I would. I don't know if I would hide. I mean, inevitably, reporters were probably just going to wait for her. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, how long would you hold out? How long you willing to hold out in the dance studio on your own?
It's just sort of delaying the inevitable, isn't it? Making the inevitable so much worse, because alongside all the other questions of why did you lose such an enormous majority, you then also have to answer why did you hide in the dance studio?
Yeah.
So not great. Good morning for Simon Lightwood as well, who was Labour's candidate in Wakefield, who beat Nadim Ahmed for that seat, which left vacant by Imran Ahmed Khan, who was a paedophile. So can't really get much worse reason for resigning than just being straight up found in a court of law to be a paedophile. I think that's... Yeah, I don't think that anyone really expected the Tories to... I mean, can you imagine like how sick most people are in Britain of like modern politics, and then on top of that,
yeah, it's not good. I don't know. Did their candidate go and hide anywhere, or has that not been revealed yet?
No, but he did sort of his only sort of meaningful contribution to it was that he tried to say that the Imran Ahmed Khan was like Harold Shipman, and that all other Tories were like just normal GPs, and so we shouldn't, judge GPs for the actions of Harold Shipman, and in much the same way we shouldn't. Which is just, I don't think that bringing like the most prolific serial killer ever into it really helps your case.
Yeah, it's probably a poor example. Poor choice of words, which is someone we've probably become used to from Conservatives over the last few months.
Yeah. I think one of the sort of interesting things about these two elections is that I think that these scandals, I mean, by-elections tend to have lower turnouts than normal elections anyway, but the figures for the turnout in these ones I thought were quite interesting, that they're down a lot, and I think that this sort of like accumulation of scandal and then the broader scandals of the Tory party have been like compounded with the individual scandals for each of these MPs. The turnout in Tiverton and Honiton was down from 71% in 2019 to 52% on Thursday, and in Wakefield it was down from 64% in 2019 to just 39%. So
quite a drastic decrease. Yeah, like you say, I think it's certainly got a lot to do with just scandal after scandal at both the level of individuals and the party. Obviously, over the last few months with Partygate and everything, the Sue Gray report recently, that's it's all just compounded to maybe a bit of
I think people here must be, and I mean also, you know, you're looking at Wakefield's turnout of 39%. Labour did get their candidate over the line. I mean, it would have been incredible if they hadn't, but on a turnout of 39%, I don't know if that's as great an endorsement for Keir Starmer's party as it maybe could be as well. I don't think that he should be taking it, you know, doing the victory laps.
Well, like you say, it would have been, you know, remarkable if they hadn't got it over the line, given the scandals that have happened to the Tory party. So it's not like it was a kind of victory. The narrative is very much less of a victory for Labour so much as it is a just crushing loss for the Conservative Party, and obviously they've won, but at the same time, as you say, it would have been incredible if they hadn't.
Yeah, and obviously it's important to mention that these sort of terrible results for the Tory party have resulted in the resignation of Oliver Dowden, who's the co-chair of the Conservative Party, and he's saying his resignation letter was issued at, what was it, 5 o'clock this morning?
Yeah, quite an early rise. It was round about then. And if, you know, it's just another kind of resignation that's coming. It's obviously not good at all for the Conservative Party. And I think in his letter was pretty damning, to be honest. I don't know, did you have it in front of you for the sort of for the folk at home?
I thought his letter was a bit weaselly, actually. He kind of stopped short of fully calling out Johnson and kind of saying that he could actually, you know, someone ought to take responsibility for this. You know, not saying you need to take responsibility for this. Yesterday's parliamentary by-elections are the latest in a run of very poor results for our party. Our supporters are distressed and disappointed by recent events. Wonder what they could be. And I share their feelings. We cannot carry on with business as usual. And of calling out Boris entirely. But the other sort of big fight that the Tories have got on their hands right now is the rail strikes across the whole of Britain, caused by the RMT walking out. They're back to work today, but there's still disruption. And Mick Lynch, who's just been kind of like...
I think we've all had Mick Lynch content over the last few days, haven't we?
Yeah, so you're a Mick Lynch correspondent. How was he on Question Time last night? You watched it, didn't you?
Yeah, I tuned into Question Time last night, as I imagine a lot of people did to see Mick Lynch speak. I think it was he spoke sort of well, as he has all week, and he was, at times, I think people were sort of accusing Fiona Bruce of interrupting and not giving him the chance to get his point across. There was a bizarre comment from the audience. I imagine anyone that's on Twitter has seen it, who just brought up the dinosaurs out of nowhere. Don't really know what the kind of, could sort of see what she was implying, but it was done in a very odd way. And we've obviously had the SNP this week sort of criticise the BBC for their lack of impartiality. It was an Ofcom report that found that the BBC had a lot more complaints than other broadcasters, and that they had kind of issued a warning over their impartiality. So last night maybe wasn't the showcase of that when Mick Lynch was interrupted at quite a few occasions. But yeah, you know, he spoke just as kind of straight to the point and matter of fact as he has all week against the likes of, you know, Kay Burley, I think, and Piers Morgan. So yeah, I think the Mick Lynch content's probably set to continue for a few days yet.
Right. Too long. So our other big story today on our front page comes from our political reporter Abby Garton went to an event hosted by Labour MSP Sarah Boyack and Mike Russell, and he kind of expanded a little bit on a point that was made by the First Minister at FMQs yesterday, saying that she would take a Northern Ireland protocol style agreement in a heartbeat if it was offered to Scotland. And Mike Russell was saying that this idea could work for Scotland. That basically the Northern Ireland protocol, as it exists currently before it is torn up and disposed of by Boris Johnson, basically allows for seamless trade between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland by effectively putting a barrier, a border between the island of Great Britain and the island of Ireland. And so Mike Russell's kind of posing this as a solution for what would happen post-independence, creation of a border on the island of Great Britain. And so I think that's quite interesting. That it would be interesting to see how that would play out in actuality. Would that mean that, you know, I don't know, and I think it's something that he's
sort of brushed up on it a little bit this morning, and as you say, it would hopefully allow for the kind of seamless transition of goods. And I think that it's obviously an important discussion to have, because it's one of the kind of key questions surrounding independence. I imagine that I think it was Mike Russell himself that said, you know, as more kind of these white papers come out, etc., that it is going to be addressed in a bit more detail. But it's definitely good to kind of get the discussion rolling. Obviously, as I said, it's a big question, and as you move further towards the kind of south of Scotland, people moving to England on a daily basis for various reasons is probably a lot more common. So it's definitely something that would need to be discussed, and one that I imagine will be a talking point for over the next few months.
Yeah, and it's a really emotive issue for people as well, isn't it? Like, I think a lot of people, even people that are very pro-independence, are very reluctant and not keen on the idea of a hard border between England. You know, people work across the border, people have family and, you know, strong ties to England. So I think it's something that the SNP and the pro-independence movement really do need to have good answers for going forward. And I think this idea of the protocol style solution is definitely an interesting one. We also had our political reporter Steph Braun out at the Royal Highland show yesterday. She was speaking to the Scottish Secretary, Alistair Jack. Scotland office had a sort of strange, like, little propaganda stall. I don't really know the full details of why they were there, but they were there. Steph confronted Alistair Jack with his comments that he made to Deirdre Brock, as the SNP MP for Edinburgh North and Leith, when he told her to suck it up and get with the programme. Steph put those comments to Alistair and basically said, well, yeah, I did say that, and she should stop grumbling, which I think, you know, Deirdre Brock said there's no comments about it where this is just not appropriate language for a minister to use.
Yeah, I think she's quite right in that respect. I think she was asking perfectly reasonable questions regarding funding in her constituency and where that money was going, and the potential of decisions about funding bypassing Holyrood. And I don't think that even, you know, he's obviously entitled to his opinion and to disagree with Deirdre, but I don't think it's the kind of rhetoric that's very helpful in political environment. And as you say, his interview yesterday was quite odd. As you said, he just sort of confirmed that he had said it and kind of that was it, really told her to get on with it, which isn't really helpful for anyone.
Yeah, and he's saying that she's missing the point about it. I think he said, I think she's slightly missing the point. I'm more interested in the regeneration of Granton. The whole thing's about the Granton waterfront redevelopment project there. And it's, yeah, as you say, he is actually the one missing the point. The point is that the UK government shouldn't be dealing directly with Scottish councils. They should be using the sort of intermediary of the Scottish government for that. Another big news, I'm just kind of conscious of taking up too much of everyone's time here, but the other big news that we had today was the Right Reverend Julian Henderson, who's a peer, suggesting that IndyRef 2 should include all four nations. Should every part of Britain have a vote? Yeah,
so he was making the point about how it was obviously a decision which would shake up the union. Well, should Scotland win in DRF2, it would shake up the whole union. So yeah, it was a kind of odd comment to make, and we had a response from Pete Wisher, who's the MP from where I'm from, up in the kind of Highlands, Perthshire North, I believe is the constituency. And he really just sort of said, how dare these people sort of try and lecture Scotland about democracy, and again, the sort of the theme of this whole kind of chat has been about just general odd comments made by people, and I think that was probably another one, not from Pete, from the what was his name again? Sorry, escaped.
It's Julian the Right Reverend Julian Henderson, Bishop of Blackburn.
Yeah, so I don't know what your thoughts on it as well. As
yeah, he does kind of admit, but I know that's controversial. After he said, which is a bit of an understatement. I think it is quite. I mean, Tommy Shepherd said that his comments were politically illiterate, and I think that is kind of more to the point that the whole point of the reason that the arguments for NDRF2, let alone voting yes in NDRF2, are so potent, are that Scotland, the Scottish voters genuinely feel like they don't have a say in British politics. The idea that including those same, that exact same model in an independence referendum does rather miss the point.
I mean, can you imagine a situation where that did happen and it was similar to the Brexit vote, where Scotland as a country ourselves voted to be independent, but it was not allowed?
Yeah.
I mean, that
that would be absolute chaos.
I think so.
Chaos, I think. But yeah, so looking forward to the rest of the day. Boris Johnson's in Rwanda, his new fridge, his favourite country in the world, the best country in the world, according to Boris. Second only to Britain, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
He's loving it. He's in Kigali right now. I think he's in Kigali, in Rwandan camp. And he's hiding from the election humiliation. He's actually at a Commonwealth event. Where Prince Charles is going to give a speech about the diversity of the Commonwealth, which I think is a really interesting way of saying that we managed to colonise so much of the world that we've actually encapsulated like the whole broad spectrum of diversity in it. It's just, that's great spin, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting Prince Charles up, the sort of old royal man, to talk about diversity is as you say, I don't know if I would describe it as great spin, to be honest with you, but it's certainly a decision. Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at for the rest of the day, and I don't know, I suppose any more kind of fallout from these by-elections. Tory MPs seem a bit worried about it, and so thanks everyone for joining us. We've got our 30-day free trial subscription offer. You can see in this little ticker thing that's running at the bottom of the screen. You can sign up at thenational.scot/subscribe. But yeah, stay tuned throughout the day and beyond for anything that we have coming in.
Thanks very much. Cheers, folks.
Thank you.